Good morning and welcome to the 2020 Gold Level presentation for Years 7 and 8. My name is Joshua David, and together with my junior school vice captain, Kaya Daly, and Year 9 Student Council representative, Bo Robinson, we will be hosting today's presentation. With the current COVID restrictions, we regret that families are not able to join us for today's special ceremony, and we would like to express appreciation for their ongoing care and support. I would now like to invite Bo Robinson to the stage to perform the Acknowledgement of Country.
We as a school would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gabal and Jawa people, and pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. We are committed to honouring Australian Aboriginals and Torres Strait Islanders' unique cultural and spiritual relationship to the land, water, and skies, and their rich contribution to society. I would also like to acknowledge those Indigenous students receiving a Gold Level Award today as a step towards being the elders of the tomorrow. And I would also like to acknowledge our guest speaker, who's coming today to speak with us all.
Thank you, Bo. I would also like to acknowledge our special guests for today. Guest speaker, Mr. Jackson Saville, Executive Principal, Miss Marianne Walsh, Deputy Principals, Mr. Will Curthoys, Miss Carrie-Anne Frew, Mr. Michael Floyd, and Mrs. Eliza McElwain, Heads of Year 7, Mrs. Tiffany Story, Mr. Tim O'Connell, and Mr. Trent O'Brien, Heads of Year 8, Mrs. Sandy Black, Mrs. Sandy Herndon, and Mr. Matthew Russell, and other staff of Centenary Heights. I would also like to offer a special welcome to you, the Gold Level students of 2020. This is your special day. In being here today, you have demonstrated your capacity as a person and learner to respect the rights of others, reflect a positive attitude, and demonstrate cooperative behaviour. Your consistent efforts and willingness to provide help to others has not gone unnoticed, and it is wonderful that we can recognise your efforts in a public forum such as today. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Jackson Saville. Jackson was a school captain at Centenary Heights State High School in 2014. He studied physiotherapy at the University of Queensland and has worked for 2 years at the Royal Brisbane Hospital. A keen sportsman and amateur gardener, Jackson considers it a privilege to be asked back home to speak today. Please welcome Jackson to the stage now.
Thank you, Kaya. I don't know about amateur gardener, but I do enjoy my gardening, yes. But good morning. Good morning to the staff, the proud families at home, and of course, the esteemed cohort of Year 7 and 8 Gold Level recipients. First of all, I want to congratulate you on your award today. I believe that this is one of the most important awards that Centenary does, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit later. But secondly, I do want to thank you very much for having me along today. As Kaya mentioned, I attended Centenary between 2009 and 2013. And I remember sitting in your positions. I remember the combination of the heat mixed with the fatigue from the school year, mixed with the anticipation for the upcoming summer holidays. So I'll endeavour to keep this pretty short and sweet. But I ask that you try and stick with me. When I was asked to come back today and do this speech, I decided to first sit down and quickly do some math, of course. For the next 4 to 5 years of schooling, you'll spend 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, for approximately 38 weeks a year, which means that Year 8s, you will have 4,560 hours left of schooling, whilst the Year 7s, you'll have a casual 5,700 hours left. If we chose to divide this down further, which I did, it means that the Year 8s, you'll have 273,600 minutes left of schooling, whilst the Year 7s, you will have 342,000 minutes left until graduation. Now, these numbers may seem a little bit large and somewhat daunting, and I do not intend that at all, because I guarantee that each of those minutes will fly past until you graduate. But I do start here today because out of these hundreds of thousands of minutes, today I want to take 7. And I wanted to make those 7 minutes count. So I thought long and hard. What stories could I use from my time at Centenary Heights? Stories that would inspire, to build up or encourage. I thought through the years of classes and lunch breaks, through the hours of basketball trainings and musical practices. I thought back to the moment that I ripped my pants in PE. Not very inspiring. I thought through the chemistry pracs. Remembered back to cheering on friends at Centenary's Got Talent. I remember the debates in legal studies and scratching my head the first time I encountered Shakespeare in English. I remember the time my friend Brendan Wilkinson threw his apple core behind his back into the bin just outside J Block, the cheers of elation that followed that moment. I remember the time I was talking during parade, a moment I regret, because I received a curt look from Miss Walsh, the kind that could melt steel. And at that moment, I decided that I would never be repeating that act. I remember the highs and the lows and the friendships along the way. And I realized perhaps these weren't the best examples to inspire, because they're the things that you are doing now. So why did I include them? Just to say this. You have one shot at high school. And in about 12 years, you might be like me, looking back at your times fondly. And you get to choose what these memories will look like. So get involved. Take risks. Take on every opportunity you get. Don't waste more than half a second trying to be cool or hip or lit fam. Join the debating team. Audition for the musical. Apply for student council. Enter the swimming carnival and cross country, even if you have the athletic ability of a sloth. Go and talk to the new kid or the one that sits alone. Try out for the team, because these will be the things that you'll look back on fondly. So now, with the remaining 3.5 minutes that I have, I would like to use a story of someone that I do think is inspirational. A man by the name of Bob Goff. Bob Goff is an author and a lawyer, and he lectures at 2 law schools in the United States. He also serves as honorary consul, which is a fancy term for legal advisor, to the Republic of Uganda. He is the founder and president of a non-for-profit organisation that seeks to fight injustice committed against children in developing countries. He has a pretty impressive resume. The other thing that you need to know about Bob Goff is that he is one of the most eccentric, quirky, and bizarre people you'll ever encounter. He has a hyperactive energy and a joy for life that's contagious. And he records some of the stories from his life in a book called Love Does. In his book, Bob records the story of getting into law school. And that's the story that I'd like to share with you today. Now, Bob openly admits that he was never the brightest kid growing up. He had passions for people and for helping people. But when it came to grades, Bob never quite got the best grades. After school, he realized that the way that he wanted to help people was to become a lawyer. And so after school, he applied to all the big law schools in the United States. However, when it was time to receive the offers for university, Bob received none. Bob writes that there was one problem with this. He had decided that he was going to become a lawyer, and in order to do so, he needed to graduate from law school. So a week before class was supposed to start, Bob drove to the first choice of law school, a law school he had not received an offer from. And full of enthusiasm, he made an appointment to see the dean of the school, the most important and powerful person at that school. As you might imagine, this meeting did not go how Bob had planned. And as the dean walked a disappointed Bob to the door and thanked him for coming in, Bob saw his chance. He turned to the dean and politely said, I understand you have turned down my application, but I do also know that you have the power to let me in. All you need to say is go and buy your books, and I could be a student at your school. You just need to say the words." The dean smiled and nodded and abruptly closed the door. And I think that's where the dean thought this story would end. But the dean clearly did not know Bob Goff. Because Bob noticed that just outside the dean's office, there was a bench. He decided that for the next week, he would park himself on that bench so that every time the dean walked past, he could smile, nod, and say, "Sir, please just say the words." The first time, the dean looked at Bob quizzically, smiled, and walked past. But as the week wore on, the dean would either nod, shake his head, or completely ignore Bob as he passed. But Bob was determined. He had decided that he was going to become a lawyer. And so he sat and he waited patiently. This process continued not only for 1 week, but for 2. Bob writes by the Friday of the second week, which is the end of the first week of classes, he was a bit despondent. His bum was dead, and he was beginning to lose hope. However, that Friday afternoon, something was different. As the dean rounded the corner and Bob prepared to use his catchphrase, something made him stop. Because the dean parked himself right in front of Bob, towering over the bench that Bob was sitting on, looking him straight in the eye. And after a tense few moments, the dean winked, and he said the phrase that Bob was hoping for, "Go and buy your books." Bob went on to study at that law school and graduated. Now, the reason I tell this story is not to encourage you to be a pain or to badger people until you get your way. But it is simply to say this. Bob was not academically gifted. He was not smart enough to get into any law school. And yet he has gone on to not only practice law, but to lecture it at 2 different universities. But more importantly, he has helped countless children in developing countries through his work. And how? Because he knew what he wanted to do, and he was prepared to work hard at it in order to get there. So Year 7 and 8 gold level recipients, today I encourage you to take pride as you receive your awards. It's a recognition of your drive, like Bob, to work hard, to contribute. It's a marker of your character, and I believe that it is the most important indicator that you will be a success, more so than your natural academic gifts. So keep at it. These characteristics will be what your future employers, educators, and colleagues will be looking for. It is these characteristics that will allow you to make a difference in our world. So congratulations, and keep it up.
Thank you, Jackson, for giving up your valuable time to attend our gold level ceremony to speak with us today. We would like to present you with a small gift as a token of our gratitude.
It is now time to meet our Year 8 Gold Level students. To introduce these Gold Level students are the Year 8 partial care teachers. Please welcome to the stage Year 8 Deputy Principal, Mr. Michael Floyd, the heads of Year 8, and guest speaker, Mr. Jackson Saville, to award the certificates to the students. I would ask that you would hold your applause until the end of the presentation for each partial care group. Please welcome Ms. Kelly Sloss to present the 8A Gold Level recipients.
The gold level recipients for 8A are Salam Ali, Sophie Brennan, Kiana Burrow, Nico Kayenga, Sophie Daly, Mazine Isa, Millie Evans, Alphonsine Fatima, William Fulton, Riley Gardner, Emily Jackson, Michael Martin, Elijah Mee, and Alexander Van Claveren. Please join me in congratulating the 8A Gold Level recipients. I would like to call on Mr. Dave Natalia to introduce the students of 8B.
The gold level recipients for 8B are Taisha Afifi, Hayley Fraser, Olivia King, Rueen Kumarasinghe, Tala Murphy, Hilary Ong, Tina Sue Rad-Danielson, and Aliza Zara. Please join with me in congratulating the gold level recipients for 8B. I would now like to call on Mr. David Truman to introduce the students of 8C.
The gold level recipients for 8C are Colenso Buerta, Harry Chisini, Harrison Kojon, Nate DeNoyer, Charlie Jennings, Hannah Kaepernick, Chloe May, Alyssa McCurley-Alt, Holly Tickner, Ruby Vero, Lily Wade, Charlotte Woodfield, please join me in congratulating the 8C gold level recipients. I'd like to call on Ms. Bron Blinko to introduce the students of 8D.
Okay, the recipients of 8D, Clark Anderson, Seth Boland. Ava Fletcher. Mia Roberts. Jack Sheether. Cody Walker. Jade Webster. And Sam Wilson. I'd like you to now join me in congratulating the recipients of 8D. I'd now like to call on Ms Karen Asmus to present the awards to 8E.
The gold level recipients for 8E are Natalie Burrow, Sienna Dixon, Lucy Esser, Jai Gibbs, Samantha Hosking, Ruby Jackson, Caitlin Loveday, Samuel Remetta, Elizabeth Seeds, and Elaine Van Art. Please join me in congratulating the 8E gold level recipients. I would like to call on Ms Carly Sherstock to introduce the students of 8F.
The gold level recipients for 8F are Cheyenne Bishop-Wallen, Eddie Burke, Laura Fry, Blake Gardner, Rocky Griggs, Tanya Jimmy, Sylvia Lay, Keenan Luca, Alia Magzab Colvin, Blake Walker, and Evangeline Wembry. Please join me in congratulating the 8F gold level recipients. I would like to call on Mrs. Ellie Henner to introduce the students of 8G.
The gold level recipients for 8G are Reuben Baisley, Shiloh Bissett, Laura Brereton, Jessie Englart, Brooke MacDonald, Hayden Manning, Jacob Marta, Michaela Mayers, Charlotte McBride, Sienna Mundy, Emma Schmidt, Marion Yandog. Please join me in congratulating the 8G Gold Level recipients. I would like to call on Miss Tara Lester to introduce the students of 8H.
The gold level recipients for 8H are Joel Anderson, Emily Chow, Abigail Collins, Wagisha Thodumpahala, Hayley Douglas, Joshua Edwards Gray, Holly Fickling, Jack Gillam, Sarah Harrison, Jordan Heading, Christina Hinkfus, Xavier Martil, Corinne Meyer-Bouquet, Grace Pearce, Elise Reese, Noah Smith, and Jonathan Wright. Please join me in congratulating the 8H Gold Level recipients. I would like to call on Miss Sam Baker to introduce the students of 8I.
Our gold level recipients for 8I are Tanea Esler, Chong Lau, Riley Missingham, Ethan Otto, Ganor Singh Soni, and last but not least, Liam Wilson. Please join me in congratulating the 8I Gold Level recipients. I'd like to call on Mr. Drew Copeland to introduce the students of 8J.
The gold level recipients for 8J are Indigo Achilles, Chelsea Barton, Rose Craig, Tamika Dobson, Melody Krause, Nicholas Ludilli, Lincoln Peroz, Lucette Stinson. Bailey Sykes. Georgia Turner. James Wiseman. And Ella Wolski. Please join me in congratulating the HA Gold Level recipients. I'd like to call on Mrs. Christy Parker to introduce the students of 8M.
Good morning. The gold level recipients for 8M are Nicholas Appelais, Annalise Brower, Kiara Crank, Omar Daphne, Sienna Dawson, Taj Gordon, Bo Harvey, Bailey Lang, Johanna McMicking, Scott Morgan, Sophia Parva, Abby Purcell, Benedict Saparamadu, Tennessee Stanton, Amber Van Grossen, Thomas West. Please join me in congratulating the 8M Gold Level recipients.
Please congratulate all Year 8 Gold Level recipients for 2020.
It is now time to meet all our Year 7 Gold Level students. To introduce the students to us are the Year 7 Pastoral Care Teachers, and awarding the certificates will be our Executive Principal, Miss Marianne Walsh, the heads of Year 7, and our guest speaker, Mr. Jackson Saville. Please join once more in welcoming to the stage the heads of year. Once again, I would ask you to hold all your applause until the end of the presentation for each group. Please welcome Miss Claire Titchener to the stage to present the 7A Gold Level recipients.
The gold level recipients for 7A are Rayan Bashir, Lila Harris, Ashley Kwan, Abby McEwen, Jennifer Richter, Bridie Russell, Nalufa Sourjar, Luca Warfield, Jada Williams, and Mackenzie Young. Please join me in congratulating the 7A Gold Level recipients. I would like to call on Mrs. Meg Ting to introduce the students of 7B.
The gold level recipients for 7B and 7L are Rawa El Hamad, Bill Kakao, Sankamesh Sri Chinanan, Olivia Cowley, Addison Elsley, Judah Findlay, Stephanie Geary, Emily Ives, Tyler Jorgensen, Hamish McDonald, Isabel McGavin,
Josh Oliveira,
Eric Palamudin,
Patrick Rudd,
Muthuli Ranawakarachi, Bianca Salick, Lucy Sheetha, Pratush Sabidi, Jean-Luc Von Zanten, and Mercedes Wicks. Please join us in congratulating the 7B and 7L gold level recipients.
We'd like to call on Mrs. Caitlin Berghofer to introduce the students of 7C.
The gold level recipients for 7C are Gypsy Andrews, Joseph Batham, Shane Christie, James Fawcett, McKeely Galligan, Jack Hahn, Amelia King, Demhiru Kototuwaku, Abby O'Loughlin, Jacob Purvis, Loris Robinson, Lindsay Ann Rodriguez, Hayley Thorburn, Adelina Ulrich, and Georgia Wakenshaw. Please join me in congratulating the 7C Gold Level recipients. I would like to call upon Mrs. Louise O'Mara to introduce the students of 7D.
The gold level recipients for 7D are Sienna Ahern, Abigail Clark, Emma Coveney, Elia Faramand, Lucinda Groves, Jack Hornsey, Reggie Klein, Keenan McAnamy, Sky Rundle, Logan Schmidt. Please join me in congratulating the 7D Gold Level recipients. I would like to call on Miss Melinda Burton to introduce the students of 7E.
Good morning. The Gold Level recipients for 7E are Samantha Alderdice, Bronte Bathgate, Sarah Connell, Kenzie Crompton, Balin Ezold, Akitha Gunawaradana, Jenna Lewis, Sarah Mario de Ninville, Hugh Shinners, Yasmin Walker. Please join me in congratulating the 7E Gold Level recipients. In the absence of 7F's PCG teacher, Mr. Luke Halley, I would like to introduce the Gold Level students of 7F to you. The Gold Level recipients for 7F are Jordan Barnett, Mitchell Harms, Connor McCurley, Mason McLucas, Truly Nielsen, and Grace Russell. Please join me in congratulating the 7F Gold Level recipients. I would now like to call on Mrs. Tori Barton to introduce the students of 7G.
The Gold Level recipients for 7G are Leah Cass, Nick Shalosky, Brooke de Blasio, Melita Edmonds, Anouk Fernando, Bodie Lebson, Isabella Sieber, Genevieve Steer, and Maya Wolf. Please join me in congratulating the 7G Gold Level recipients. I would like to call on Miss Hannah Morn to introduce the students of 7H.
The Gold Level recipients for 7H are Brenika Dow, Connor Facer, Tori Gibbs, Henry Harvey, Zachary Hickey, Thomas Howard, Kira Lebson, sorry. Sharissa McEwen, Fraser Smith, Mia Wilson. Please join me in congratulating the 7H Gold Level recipients. I would like to call on Mrs. Renee Stanley to introduce the students of 7I.
Good morning. The Gold Level recipients for 7I are Thomas Breeze, Gabrielle Cojon, Mia Hansen, Samara Miller, Chelsea Grace Moore, Isaac Myler, Lithika Seary, Millie Simons, Casey Wall-Polstra, Samantha Warfield, Riley Watson, and Jamie Wershing. Please join me in congratulating the 7I Gold Level recipients. I would like to call on Miss Letitia Lynham to introduce the students of 7J.
The Gold Level recipients for 7J are Ebony Chow, Catherine Hagan, Iris Halliwell, Joe Harold, Zenabu Karabendika, Matthew Clibby, Lucille Stratton, please join with me in congratulating the 7J Gold Level recipients. I'd like to call on Mr. Adam Watts to introduce the students of 7K.
The gold level recipients for 7K are Maylee Fairveye, Lucy Gould, Olivia Little, Gloria Lowe, Abby Ma, Malachi Mulligan, Aaron Shimalenga, Sarah Smith, Ava Tierney, Housen 2, Cody Vidler, Ella Williams, Shen Wu, and Sean Yo. Please join me in congratulating the 7K Gold Level recipients. I would like to call on Miss Samantha Taylor to introduce the students of 7M.
The Gold Level recipients of 7M are Lara Anderson, Dylan Brown, Alex Kerry, Eden Coates, Kira Dawson, Caitlin Hoskin, Philip Camel, Cooper Kennedy, Corbin Martin, Sean Maynard, Archie Milne, Erica Mitchell, Oliver Murphy, Will Matar, Riley Parsons, Casper Reuter, Mia Ryan, Aisha Saleh, Gemma Seymour, Serena Shackleton, Hannah Smith, Naisha Stelmaker, Isabel Tay, and Micah Walmsley. Please join me in congratulating our 7M Gold Level recipients.
Please congratulate all Year 7 Gold recipients for 2020.
We would like to welcome Ms. Marianne Walsh, Executive Principal of Centenary Heights State High School, to the stage to introduce the 2021 Junior School leaders.
Students, if you just come forward, please, and stand in front so that the cameras can get you. And you can have a very good look, everybody, at our leadership coming into next year. Well earned, all 4 people. Benedict Sapramadu, Evangeline Wembry, Nicholas DeLilly and Georgia Turner. And through a process of application and interview and a stringent voting process through students and staff, what you see here is leadership. What you see to my right on stage is leadership and an understanding of what it is to serve. We welcome warmly next year's young leaders, and I do understand really clearly that they, like myself and our staff, they will serve us very, very well. Sincere congratulations to all of you, and thank you indeed for the manner in which you took this so seriously. It can't be anybody, just anybody, who does this work, and it is indeed well earned. Join me, please, in congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Walsh.
Most times when we celebrate, there's a special cake to be shared. I now have the pleasure of inviting to the front of the stage our Student Council representative, Aisha Saleh, Micah Wormsley, Abigail Collins, and Riley Gardner to cut the cake.
The motto of Centenary, a success will never stop.
Please cut the cake.
For achievement, participation is the key. Centenary will come out on top, and everyone will see that we're up there with the winners. We'll always do our best. The spirit of Centenary Heights will shine on through. We have sportsmen and women who represent us well. We have speakers and performers and A-graders as well. But we're all from Centenary. We'll make them proud. Our hard work will reach the top, so let's all sing out loud. 'Cause we're up there with the winners. We'll always do our best. The spirit of Centenary Heights will shine on through. Yes, we're up there.
It was great to see so much students recognised today, and it is hoped that students will continue on the current path of exceptional performance for the remainder of the year and into the future. To reach goal level takes the support of the following: our heads of year, Year 7, Miss Stephanie Story, Mr. Tim O'Connell, Mr. Trent O'Brien; Year 8, Mrs. Sadie Black, Mrs. Sandy Herden, and Mr. Matthew Russell. Our assistant head of year, Miss Stephanie Raitt, and Year 8, Mr. Jesse Osborne.
This day would not have been possible without the organisational skills of the following people. A very big thank you must also go out to Mrs. Susan Corbett for preparing the invitations, the program and the gold level certificates, as well as organising the cakes, Mr. Jesse Osborne and Miss Stephanie Waite for overseeing the organisation of this ceremony, and Mrs. Sharon Mathewson for photographs. Thank you also to Mr. Cole French, our janitor, and Jack Kiefer for their assistance with this ceremony. We invite students outside to enjoy a piece of cake. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.